So, what if I told you that you could get 37 times better at something in just 1 year? It sounds kind of crazy, right? Well, that's the core promise of James Clear's game-changing book, Atomic Habits. And it all starts with this tiny, almost invisible idea, getting just 1% better every single day.
I mean, we've all been there. You set this huge, ambitious goal on January 1st, you're all fired up for a week, maybe two, and then, poof, it just fizzles out. It's a super common, super frustrating feeling. But what if the problem isn't you? What if the problem is the method itself?
Okay, so let's talk about this number, 37. This is the magic of that 1% rule. See, your brain might do the simple math and think, okay, 1% a day for 365 days, that's 365% better. But that's not how it works. It's all about compounding. Those tiny little gains build on each other day after day, and by the end of the year, you're not just a little better, you are an incredible 37 times better.
And this, right here, is the central idea of Atomic Habits. It's not about massive, heroic efforts. It's about those tiny, almost unnoticeable 1% improvements. Think of it like compound interest, but for your life. It's the small deposits that end up making you rich. But here's the thing you have to remember. This is a double-edged sword. That same compounding power works in reverse. A tiny 1% decline each day, eating a little junk food, skipping a workout, hitting snooze, it doesn't seem like a big deal. But over a year, it's just as powerful, and it can wipe you out, taking you nearly down to zero. Your daily choices, no matter how small, really do set the course.
And this chart? Wow. This brilliantly explains why so many of us give up on our goals. We expect our progress to be a nice straight line. But in reality, it looks a lot more like this. We put in the work for weeks, maybe months, and we see nothing. We're stuck in what Clear calls the valley of disappointment. But what we don't realize is that we're building up potential, like an ice cube heating from 25 to 31 degrees. The change is happening. You just can't see it yet. That overnight success everyone talks about, it's just the moment all that stored up potential finally breaks through.
So how do we actually push through that valley of disappointment and make these habits last? Well, Clear says it takes a huge mindset shift. We need to focus on two things: building systems instead of just chasing goals, and shaping our identity, not just our outcomes.
So, what's the real difference? Well, a goal is the finish line, like, say, running a marathon. The system is your training schedule, your diet, your sleep routine, your stretching. It's the whole process that gets you there. Goals are great for setting a direction, but it's the systems that actually make the progress happen.
This quote from the book just cuts right to the heart of it. You know, your ambition alone isn't going to get you there. It doesn't matter how big your goal is if your system for achieving it is broken. Think about it. Winners and losers in any field often have the exact same goals. The real difference is their commitment to a better system. And that brings us to the second, and honestly maybe the most powerful shift of all: identity. The core idea here is to stop focusing so much on what you want to achieve and start focusing on who you want to become. Once you do that, your behaviors just naturally start to fall in line with that new identity.
This example makes it so perfectly clear. Someone who says, "No thanks, I'm trying to quit," is still thinking like a smoker who's resisting. But someone who says, "No thanks, I'm not a smoker," that's a statement of identity. The internal battle is over. The behavior, not smoking, is just a natural outcome of who they believe they are.
And the process for doing this is beautifully simple. It's just two steps. First, you just decide, who do I want to be? Do I want to be a healthy person, a writer, an early riser? Then you start proving it to yourself with tiny wins. Every single time you go to the gym, you're casting a vote for, I am a healthy person. Every time you write one page, that's a vote for, I am a writer. Okay, so we've got the mindset down. Systems over goals, identity over outcomes. But how do we actually build the habits that cast those votes? Well, this is where Clear gives us a super practical 4-step toolkit that's based on the actual science of how our brains are wired.
Turns out, every single one of our habits follows the same 4-step loop. There's a cue, which is the trigger. That leads to a craving, which is the motivation. That drives a response, which is the actual habit. And finally, you get a reward, which satisfies the craving and tells your brain, hey, let's do that again. So seeing your running shoes by the door is the cue, which triggers the craving for that feeling of accomplishment, which leads to the response of actually running, and the reward is that great feeling afterwards.
Now here is the really cool part. We can actually hack this loop. To build a good habit, you just follow the 4 laws. Make the cue obvious, make the craving attractive, make the response easy, and make the reward satisfying. And if you want to break a bad habit, you just flip it. Make the cue invisible, the craving unattractive, the response difficult, and the reward unsatisfying. So if you want to stop mindlessly checking your phone, make the cue invisible by putting your phone in another room. Simple, but it works.
All right, let's bring all this home, because knowing the theory is one thing, but making it stick in the chaos of real, everyday life, that's a whole other ballgame. So there are just a couple of final keys to making these new habits actually last for good.
First, let's just have a quick reality check. You're going to have bad days. Progress is not a straight line up. You'll have plateaus and setbacks. And you know that whole "it takes 21 days to form a habit" thing? Yeah, that's mostly a myth. The real average is about 66 days, and it can be way longer for some habits. The real key isn't to be perfect, it's to be consistent. There's a simple rule for this. It's okay to miss one day, just never miss twice.
And this right here might just be the most powerful, practical tool in the entire book. It's the 2-minute rule. The idea is that any new habit you start should take less than 2 minutes to do. So read every day becomes read one page. Do 30 minutes of yoga becomes take out my yoga mat. The goal isn't to achieve the outcome right away, it's to master the art of just showing up. Because once you start, it's so much easier to keep going.
So let's end with this. Forget about the huge, overwhelming transformation for a second. Just think about one single vote. What is one tiny 2-minute action you can take today, right now even, to cast a vote for the person you really want to become? Because that is where real change actually begins.